Right. We've got the first question is a quadratic equation, and we can tell it's a quadratic because the highest power of x is 2. So the first step of solving quadratic equation is making the equations equal to 0. So we're going to rearrange, make the equation equal to 0. The next step is factorizing the equation, and because the coefficient of x square is 3, so we're going to multiply the coefficient of x by the constants, and that give me 21. So when you look for the two factors that multiply them together give me positive 21, and add them give me negative 10. And we see they are negative 3 and negative 7. Then I'm going to rewrite that equation using the two factors. Always the bigger factor first. 3x plus 7 equals 0, and then I will group factorize. So I will take the first two terms and factorize them. So the common factor between the first two terms is x, that's open bracket, left is x minus 7, sorry, 3x minus 7, and then the second common factor, and then we'll find the common factor between the brackets. And because we want inside the bracket to be positive 3x minus 7, that's why we're going to have the common factor here is negative 1. And the reason we had negative 1 as a common factor is allowing us to change the sign for 3x minus 7 equals 0. And the whole thing of this step is getting those two brackets exactly the same. So next step is taking the bracket out as a common factor, so what left is x minus 1 equals 0. And then from there, now you can solve. So it's either 3x minus 7 equals 0 or x minus 1 equals 0. And the two solutions is x equal 7 over 3 or x equal to 1. Next question is find the values of x that satisfy the equation log 5 625 of equal x, and because it's log to the base of 5 we can't find that in the calculator, so we will have to rewrite the log as an index format. Now it's log to 5, so the base of the log is 5, and that would be the base of our power as well. So 5 to the power of x equals 625. So look for the number that you 5 to the power of that number give you 625. And if you don't want to do guess and check, because you can do the 625 is the last digit is 5, so that means multiplied by 5. So I would divide the 625 by 5, and that give me 125. And you all know, and then this one, that 125, it comes from 5 times 25. Why I'm choosing 5? Because the last digit is 5. That's a hint for me. And then that 25 is 5 and 5, which means you can see I have 4 5s are the factors of 625. So that's why 5 to the power of 4 equals 625, which means x equal to 4. Answer. Next one is the equation is 5x squared plus open bracket r minus 1 close bracket x plus 2 equals 0 has one repeated root. So that the main sentence in this question is one repeated root, which means that's the increments, the discrements, which is b squared minus 4ac must be equal to 0. That's the condition of one repeated root. And because we've got a quadratic, so we're going to b is r minus 1 square minus 4 times 5 times c, which is 2, equals 0. And then we'll just open the bracket. So we'll go r square minus 2r plus 1 minus, and then just work it out. This one here, 4 times 5 is 20 times 2, so it's 40, equals 0. So give me r squared minus 2r minus 39 equal 0. And it's a quadratic equation, and you can use the quadratic formula. So you can use the quadratic formula to solve it, or we can use the graphic calculator. Now, to use the graphic calculator to solve it, you would go menu, then equation, and go polynomial, which is f2, and then press degree of 2, and you're going to enter the coefficient of x squared, x, and c. So the coefficient of x squared is 1, and the coefficient of x is negative 2, and then the constant is negative 39. And when you press equal, you get two answers. So it's either r equal 7.3 or r equal negative 5.3. Next questions. A new drug A designed by the pharmaceutical company, and there's few things in here that because the question is too long, so I would go straight away into the equation. So this is the equation that's been given to me. That's the most important part. I need to know what A represents. So A says is the amount of drugs in milligrams, and T, the second variable in the equation, and it is the T hours, so the time. Now they say how many minutes. So you've noticed the answer needs to be given in minutes. From the induction will there only be 30% of the drugs remaining. Now we need to find what's 30%, because A to T is the amount of the drugs, so it's not a percentage. So the first thing is we're finding what's 30%. Now we need to go back and see what is the amount of the drugs. So they got 120 milligrams. So that's your initial amount of the drugs. So we found first 30% of 120. Okay, and that's give me 36 milligrams. So that's the amount that I need to find the time for. So by when, or by how, after how many minutes, the A to T becomes 36. So you would substitute 36 in the equation to the power of T. Now would we rearrange? So we divide the 36 by 120 just to have the T, or the terms that has the T in one side of the equation. Now you've noticed I did not divide, so I didn't do 36 divided by 120 and get the decimals for that. I didn't divide because I don't want to do any early rounding, so I'll use this as 36 divided by 120. The next thing, because T is as a power, the only way you can get the T down, or you can get it as a coefficient and then solve the equation when the unknown and powers, you take log to both sides. So I would go log, you could do log, you could do ln, doesn't matter. So using the log rules, that will make the next step of the equation, it's T times log 0.25. Okay. Now the next step is rearrange. So T multiplied by log 0.25. So obviously T will equal log 36 over 120 over log 0.25. Now how would you calculate that in the calculator? Now in the calculator you would write log, press the log button, open bracket, 36 divided by 120. close the bracket, give the answer. Now I'm not going to write the answers, I'm not going to round it or anything. What I'm going to do, the next step, I'm going to do divide by log 0.25. So straight away, if I press divide, it will take the previous answer that you've just calculated in the calculator and divide it by log 0.25, and you get the answer as 0.86 if you round it 9. This is in hours, remember, because t is after t hours. The question says how many minutes, so you need to change that into minutes. And obviously by multiplying by 60, you get t equal 52.1 minutes. So you would write a statement is the drug will be 30% left after 52.1 minutes. Writing the statements at the end is right. So first of all, we're going to multiply the BT times to AT, because that's how you find the amount of drugs. You can see that statement in here. That's how we found the amount of drugs. Why I've done that? Because the question right at the end, it says after how many minutes will the combined amount of drugs to be less than 0.1. So I need to find first the equation that's the combined amount of drugs. So the BT is given in here, 1.5 times open bracket 0.5 close to the power of 2t, multiplied by the other one, which is 120 times 0.25 to the power of t. Now multiplying 1.5 times 120, that's given me 180 multiplied by 0.5 to the power of 2t times 0.25 to the power of t. Now because the two bases are different, I need to find a way to write the two bases the same. Now 0.25 comes from 0.5 square. So I can rewrite that 0.5 stays as it is. The 0.25 becomes 0.5 to the power of 2t, because 0.25 is 0.5 square, and then when we have powers to powers, we'll multiply powers, so that's why we end up with 2t. And now I have the same bases multiplied together, so I can apply the power rule by adding the brackets, adding the powers of 40. Now what does it say? Now I found the equation of the combined. Now the next step is making this equation to be less than 0.1. So I need to solve that. So the next step is rearranging. So it's 0.5 to the power of 4t less than 0.1 divided by 180. Okay, and then again I'm not dividing. Okay, so 0.1 divided by 180. I'm not going to divide that and get a decimal that needs to be rounded. So the next step, again, t is the power. So our next step is taking log to both sides, and that will make it 4t. You apply log the rules. Now, so 4t less than, I can now add find the answers for log 0.1 divide by, so I will press the log, open a bracket, 0.1 divide by 180, close the bracket, get the log answer, and then I would divide it by, just press divide straight away as I said before, that will carry out the answer, and do divide by log 0.5 and I get the answer, which is 10.4, sorry, 10.8. And then the next one I would do t less than, and now I divide by 4. Again, I'm not writing the 10.8 in the calculator, I'm just using divide, and it will carry out the previous answer, 2.7. Okay, now the question again says minutes, so I need to multiply that answer by 60. So t must be less than, after how many minutes? 162.2 minutes. So t must be by less than 162.2 minutes. So you could say by 120, after 162 minutes. So after 162 minutes. Turn around. Okay. This type of questions we will have to work out comparing the amount of drugs in the, the amount of time that each one of those 3 different types of drugs reach less than 1 milligrams. Now the first one, remember we've got 3 different types of drugs. So we have drug A, and the equation for drug A was 120, open a bracket, 0.25 all to the power of t less than 1. So the amount of drug needs to be less than 1. So again, you would solve it using the log format. Less than 1 over 120. So t should be less than log both sides. .25. So t less than, and calculate that in the calculator. You will do log, open bracket, 1 divided by 120, close bracket, and then equal, then do divide again by log 0.25, and that's give me 3.45 hours. So by 3.45 hours, the drug A is not going to be effective anymore. Now we're going to use the other type of drugs, which is A and B combined. Now I'm not going to multiply the equations for A and B because it was on this previous slide. So I'm going to use straight away the final version, or the simplified version of the equation, should be less than 1. So that's give me 4t less than log 1 over 180 divide by log 0.5 by taking log to both sides, and then I would go t less than, so I'm gonna calculate the log first. So I'm gonna do log, open bracket, 1 divide by 180, close the bracket, enter to get the answer. Then I would do divide straight away, that will carry out the answer, log 0.5, and then give me the answer, and then again I'm gonna do divide by 4. So the answer is 1.87 hours. Now the new drugs, which is C, which is the pharmacist claim that's the most effective. So that's mean it's a longer T. So we need to figure this one out. So it's 120 minus 120 log base 80 this time. So you notice that's not just the normal log that you can calculate in the calculator, less than 1. So the first step is rearranging. So we will have log 80, open a bracket, 20t plus 1, because we want to have the term that has the unknown in one side of the equation. So 1 minus 120, that give me negative 19. And then I would divide by, so that give me negative, so that's negative 120. I'll keep that negative 120 for now. for that one, and I will do 1 minus 120, so that's negative 119. And now I'm gonna divide by negative 120. Remember, it's an equality, so when you divide by a negative number, the sign will change, so you will end up with log 80 open bracket 20t plus 1 greater than 119 divided by 120, because negative divided by negative is positive, so that's why. Now the next step is you can't calculate this log in the calculator, so we will have to rewrite it as index format. So I will write it as 80 to the power of 119 over 120 greater than 20t plus 1. So means t, so rearranging, I will have 80 119 divided by 120 minus 1, taking the 1 to this side, divide by 20 is greater than t. Now I can find that in the calculator. So how would you find it in the calculator? You would do 80 to the power of open bracket 119 divided by 120 close bracket answer. So execute, that will give me the answer. Then I will do minus 1, then I will do divide by 20, and that give me 3.82. So 3.82 less than 10. So that's mean, and then you will have to write the statement. So claim is correct, because you can see that's the drug T is 3.82 the time, and drug C, and drug A and B is 1.87, and drug A is 3.45. So the best one is drug C because it stays longer. And you write the statement as C is effective longer by, and then you could do 3.82 minus 3.45, and that's give me by 0.37 hours than drugs A. Okay, that's one of the things. Okay, question 2, expand and simplify. So expanding, I'll do the first two brackets first, keep them in a bracket. So I will have x times 2x is 2x squared, then x times 4 is positive 4x, and then negative 5 times 2x, negative 10x, negative times negative 20. Close bracket, 1 minus 1. I would simplify this before I expand. So those two are like terms. That give me negative 6x minus 20, close bracket, and x minus 1. Now I'll expand again, and that is give me 2x cubed. And then this one here is negative 2x squared. Then I would do the negative 6x times x. So it's negative 6x squared, and then positive 6x, and then I've got negative 20x, and then positive 20. Then I add like terms. That would 2x to the power of 3 negative 8x squared plus, sorry, minus, because it's positive 6 minus 20, negative 14x plus 20. So that's your final answer. So achieved questions. Next one, simplify. That's quite straightforward. Remember when we said that fractional power mean its root, so it's the third root because the denominator is the root degree. So the next, what you do next is 27, third root of 27 is 3, because 3 to the power of 3 is 27. And then when you have power to power, you multiply its powers. So 8 to the power of 8 over 3. Okay, so it's quite straightforward. This one here is making x as the aspect of the formula. It does look complicated, but your first step is do the cross multiply, okay, to get rid of the fractions. That's your first step you would do, because you have x in both denominator and numerator, so you want an x in one side of the equation. So the first step is you do the cross multiply, so you'll have 3x equal, so you multiply those two together, so you will have E5w times 5x, so it's giving me 5 in here and x in here, minus e to the power of 5w. I probably will do them expanding on the side just for the people. So basically when you cross multiply it means it's like you're expanding. Those are the two terms multiplied by those two terms. Okay, I'm just doing it on the side just to become things clearer. So I'm going to multiply those two first, and that's why it gives me 5x e to the power of 5w, which is, this is what I've written here. I just written the x after the e, should be before. And then you would multiply this, which is negative e5w. Then you would go with this one here, negative 5x, and then negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. There's no like terms in here, so you can't simplify it any further. So I'm just going to rewrite it. Now, because I want to rearrange making x as the object of formula, so I will have to have all the terms that has x's in one side of the equation. So this one, and this one here needs to be on one side of the equation. So I'm going to keep the 3 on this side. I'm going to take this one to here, so it's negative 5x e to the power of 5w. Then negative 5 becomes positive 5x equal negative e to the power of 5w plus 1. Then x, now all those three terms are x's, but you can't simplify them because they are not like terms, so you have to get x as a common factor. Because I want to have x as subject of formula, so I need to have only one x. At the moment I've got 3 different x's. So x is a common factor. Left is 3x plus 5x are like terms, so you can simplify them, give you 8x. So that's why I end up with 8 minus 5x e to the power of 5w, close bracket, equal negative e5w plus 1. Now x is multiplied by the bracket, so to keep x as subject to the formula, say x equal negative e to the power of 5w plus 1 over whatever in that bracket, which is 8 minus 5. There's no x in here, sorry, that's my mistake, because I took it as a common factor. 5e to the power of 5w. And that's your final answer. Okay, because you've got fractions, expressions top of the other expressions, so the first thing you will try is factorizing. So with the numerator is factorizing it is quite straightforward, because the difference between two squares. So factorize is square root of the first term, which is 2x, minus square root of the second term, which is 5, open a bracket, 2x plus 5. Now the denominator is a harder quadratic, so I will factorize it on the side in here. So the first step is multiplying the coefficient of x squared times the constant, and that's giving me positive 30. Now the two factors, that adds them together, give me positive 17. Multiply them, give me positive 30. Obviously they are 15 and 2. Then, I'm going to rewrite this middle term using the 15 and 2, the two common factors. Always start with the bigger number. So positive 15x positive 2x minus 5. Now do factorize. So the first two terms, factorize them. The common factor is negative 3, open bracket. Left is 2x, negative 3x, sorry. Okay, so open bracket is 2x. Just gonna do that one properly. Don't want to delete the whole thing. Okay. Okay, so negative 3x is the common factor. So left is 2x plus, not plus, sorry, it's negative, because I took the negative as a common factor. So just to change the sign, so it becomes similar to the other one. So it's minus 5. Open bracket. This one here, there's no common factor, and the signs are the same because I've got positive 2x and positive 2x, negative 5 and negative 5. So I will take positive 1 as a common factor, which makes no difference inside the brackets. Now we'll take that bracket as a common factor, and what's left is negative 3x plus 1. So now I'll rewrite it in here. 2x minus 5, negative 3x plus 1. Okay, and that means those are 2 simplified, they are the same. So the final answer is 2x plus 5 over negative 3x plus 1. Okay, so for this type of questions that we've got is sparkle, which is a circular sparkle, and we have also the dick in here. So the question says that the sparkle is having the area, so that's the area of the circular sparkle, and the dick is 1/2 the times the length of the dick is 1/2 times as long as the diameter of the sparkle. Now to find the area of a circle, we do pi r squared. That's the rule for the area of the circle, and it's equal to 10x squared pi. So that means the radius, if you rearrange radius square, it's 10x squared. So that is giving me the radius is square root of 10x. Okay, now the area of the dick, so they want to find the expression of the area of the dick. Now the area of the dick of the rectangle, first it's length times width, which is giving me the length, which is the same as the diameter. That's mean 2 square root of 10x, because the same as the diameter of the circle. That's the width of the, sorry, and then the length is 2 times 1/2 times that, so it's 3, because 1/2 times 2 is 3 square root of 10x. So if you simplify it, you will end up with 60x squared. That's the area of the rectangle. Now the area of the dick will be the area of the dick equal area of rectangle minus area of semicircle. So area of the rectangle is 60x squared. Area of semicircle, which is 5x squared pi, because area of the circle is 10, so it's 5x squared pi. Then you simplify that, factorize it. We've got a 5x squared, open bracket, 12 minus pi, close bracket. Okay, so this one here is a quadratic equation. You can tell because the highest power of x is 2. It has one root is twice the other root. You can solve it using a quadratic formula, but it's quite long with the quadratic formula, so I've solved it a different way. When it says one root is twice the other root, I said let a be one root, or the first root. Okay, so that means 2a is second root. Okay, so to solve this, I've got rearrange the quadratic equation to make it equal to positive 2s equals 0. Now, when you factorize a quadratic formula, remember all the previous questions, when we factorize it, the first step we would do, we multiply the coefficient of x squared and multiply it by the constant. And then we look for factors that adds up into 2. So which means that the a times 2a should give me s times 2s. So that's why I'm going to write my first equation, simultaneous equations, is a times 2a equal s times 2s, which is give me a square equal s square. That's my first equation. My second condition is adding the two factors or the two roots. It gives me the middle term, which is s squared, which is the coefficient of x. So a plus 2a give me negative s squared, which is that leads to 3a negative 3a equal s squared. That's my second equation. Now I will use substitution method. So I will substitute equation 1 into equation 2 to calculate a, not s, a. So 3a, negative 3a, sorry. Instead of s squared, I'm going to put a squared. That's what substitution give me. Then I would rearrange, so I will have a squared plus 3a equals 0. Factorize, that's giving me a is a common factor. Left is a plus 3 equals 0. So it's either a, solving, I got either a equals 0 or a equal negative 3. Now substitute, so simultaneous equations basically, into equation 1. And that's give me negative 3 all square is equal s square. So 9 equal s square, and from there s equal positive negative 3. Okay, or s equals 0. You can't have, you're going to ignore the s equals 0, because when you s is equal 0, everything is equal to 0. You will have 0 equals 0, which is really no equation. So that's why this is the final answer, s equal positive negative 3. Question 3, simplify. So you'll have 5 open bracket 2x minus 1, then changing the division into multiplication, flip over, you've got 2x over 3, then just give it 10x over 6x minus 3. And I can't simplify any further, so that's my final answer. Some people simplified the x's is incorrect, so that's your final answer. Next questions is express this log as a single log format. You need to use the log rules in here. So you've got log 27 plus log 9, and when you're adding two logs, it's the same as you can write it as a single log by having log 27 multiplied by 9 minus log 3. And now the minus can change into a division, so that's why your final answer will be log 27 times 9 over 3. Then you find out the answer, that 3 simplify it with the 3, so 27 times 3 is 81. Okay, so that's why your final answer is log 81. So if you leave the answers like this, it's fine. Some people go ahead and do the 3 to the power of 4 is 81. So what they do, they write it like that, 3 to the power of 4, and that's give me as 4 log 3. So it's either this answer you stop with or the answer you stop with. It makes no difference, both of them are correct because they only said write it as a single log. Next question, simplify. This one looks very, very complicated, but it's not really if you look for hints and factors. So that 12, so if you think about it, the 12 is the factors is 3 and 4. The 48 comes from 16 times 3, which is also 3 times 4 times 4, if you think about it. And the 27 comes from 3 to the power of 3, so which is 3 times 3 times 3. And the 16 comes from 4 times 4. So you can tell from the numbers in there that you will have to rewrite them all into either bases of 3 and 4s, basically. So what we're going to do, we're going to start with the first one, 12 to the base of x. So I'm going to write the 12 as 4 times 3 all to the power of x plus y times. The next one is the 48. So the 48 is going to be written as 3 times 4 times 4 to the power of x minus y. So I can't play anything with the powers if the bases are not the same. And the 27 can be written as 3 to the power of 3, which is give me 3x, because power to power you multiply. The 16 comes from 4 times 4 all to the power of x plus 2y. Now I'm going to open up. So what I'm going to write it as, it's quite long. So I've got 4 to the power of x plus y multiplied by 3 to the power of x plus y. So I've just expanding kind of thing. Multiplied by 3 to the power of x minus y, and then multiplied by 4 to the power of x minus y, and then another 4 to the power of x minus y. The bottom is 3x multiplied by 4x plus 2y multiplied by 4x plus 2y. Okay, now we're going to rewrite that as simplify. So we collect kind of their like terms or the same bases in this case in here. So I've got 4 to the power of x plus y, and I've got another 4 in here, another 4, and I've got another 4. So when you multiply to the same base, you add the powers. So x plus x plus x is 3x. So 4 to the power of 3x. Now y, I've got positive y minus y, that's 0, and then minus another y, so it's minus y here. Then I'll come with the 3, I'm going to do exactly the same. So 3 adding the powers, x plus x is 2x. And positive y minus y is just 0, so there is no y's. Then I'll come at the bottom and I will do the same. 4, now x and x is 2x, adding the powers. 2y plus 2y is 4y plus 4y. Now I've got the multiplication, sorry, the division. So I've got 4, 3x minus y and 4, 2x plus 4y. So when you divide the same base, you minus the powers. So I've got 4 to the power of 3x minus 2x is x. Negative y minus for y is negative 5y over 3 to the power of 2x minus 3x is negative x. That's why I put it in the denominator, which is give me 1x. And that's your final answer. Okay, so in this questions here, so the keywords are you're making a cake. Okay, so it's a round cake, so it's a circular. Draw it in here. And inside the cake there is a right angle isosceles triangle, which is sheet that's placed on the top of the cake for all the edges. That's all the edges, the 3 edges of the triangle, mean the corners of the triangle touching the circumference of the cake, and the hypotenuse of the icing cake to run along the diameter. Of the triangle. So that's the diameter of the cake. So that's the diameter of the cake, and that would be the hypotenuse. So it means that's the right angle triangle in here. So you need to write the expressions that represent. Write the expression to find the value of x. Now the length of the right angle isosceles triangle icing cake must be x plus 10. So that's the hypotenuse, which is the diameter, and then 2x plus 2 is the other 2 sides. So now you would obviously we're using Pythagoras. It's a right angle triangle, so the using Pythagoras is c square equal a square plus b square. C squared is the hypotenuse, so it's x plus 10 squared, and a squared and b squared, they're 2 isosceles, which is 2x plus 2. And because I've got 2, that square, I've got 2 of them, so I multiplied by 2. And now I'll expand, so it's x squared plus 20, x plus 100 equal, this one is 4x squared plus 8x plus 4. Keep expanding. And then now we'd rearrange. Okay, we'd rearrange. After rearranging and collecting like terms, I will end up with 7x squared minus 4x minus 92 equals 0. Now solving it, that's using a graphic calculator. So I'll end up with 2 solutions. Just use a graphic calculator. Remember yesterday, in the previous questions we said you go to menu, equations, and then press polynomial, which is F2, and then go to the degree of 2, and then entered A 7, B -4, and C is -92. And then when you press solve, you get 2 equations, 2 solutions, either x is -3.5 or x is equal 3.9. So now the diameter, equal x plus 10. So x plus 10 means 3.9 plus 10, and that is giving me 13.9. And so when they find the diameter, now the circumference, because they say the question says find the variable of x, which is 4-pounder, and then use it to find the diameter of the cake, and then you're going to find the circumference. So there's 3 requirements. So the diameter is in centimeters. Now the circumference is the diameter times pi, which is equal 13.9 pi, and the answer is 43.67 centimeter. and there's the circumference. Okay, there is two parts of this questions in here. So the first part is you need to find the sum of all the possible solutions of this equation, and the second part is you need to find the values of k. That gives you no real solution to the equation. Now the first one is finding the sum of all solutions, and obviously we'll have to expand first. So I've got 3x squared minus 6xk equal 2k minus 1. Rearrange because I've got a quadratic. So rearranging, I've got 3x squared minus 6xk minus 2k plus 1 equals 0. So I'm going to use the quadratic formula. X equal negative b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. That's the quadratic formula. Now this is a, that's your b, this is your b, and that's your c. So by substituting, I'll have my first root negative 6k, so it becomes positive 6k plus 2 roots, remember, b square, which is 36k squared because it's 6k, plus minus 4 times a, which is 3, times c over 2a, which is 6. That's my first equation or first solution, and the other solution will be the same but minus. I'm just trying to simplify first and then I will write. So the first, if I simplify what's underneath the bracket, just multiplying and expanding, I'll end up with positive 6x plus square root 36k squared plus 24k minus 12 over 6 plus, because I'm adding all the roots, so the second root will be positive 6k minus, this time the same thing, over 6. Now you've got the same denominator, so you can just simplify adding the fractions. So 6k plus 6k is 12k, positive the whole root minus the whole root, that give you, simplifies to 0, and that is over 6, and then you'll end up with 2k. Okay, so that's the sum of all possible solutions. That's the first part. Now the second part. It says find the value of k. So now I could use the value of k. I'll just need to use what's underneath the brackets, the square root, because what it says here, when there is no real solution, which means whatever underneath the square root must be less than 1, which is negative. So that's why I'm gonna go 36k squared plus 24k minus 12 is less than 0. Okay, solving it, you can use the graphic calculator again, polynomial and degree of 2. You will end up with 2 solutions. So it's either k equal -1 or k equal 1/3. That's when you do solutions. So it means the range of values are k must be greater than -1 and less than 1/3. when no real solution.